Digital camera is basically a computer with a software inside called firmware. This firmware needs to be adjusted properly in order to get an appropriate performance. If you do not input a right setting in your camera, then it is futile to expect the right outcome. In other words, depending on the light situation and the demand of the subject, you need to adjust this camera menu. Right settings will invariably result in a right result, and you will notice that it would be difficult for you to take a bad picture. In this video, we will discuss the Nikon Z8 settings for wildlife photography. However, the same settings can be used for any Nikon camera because more or less the menu item remains same. Press the menu button and go to the setup menu. The very first thing you will need is to set the correct date and time. As per your time zone or the country in which you are residing, select the appropriate time zone. This will automatically set the proper date and time. But still cross-check, and if you think that it needs to be changed, then a little change in the minutes, hours, seconds, date can be done. Date format you select as per the traditional way your country follows. If you are recording in a country where there is a difference in the time zone between summer and winter, then keep this daylight saving time on. Otherwise, you keep it off. Then scroll down all the way down to the sensor shield behavior at power off. Often in wildlife safari, you are in a situation where there is a dusty environment. Sometimes you may need to change the lens to avoid and prevent dust from entering and settling on sensor. Keep this setting to sensor shield closes. This way, whenever you switch off the camera and change lens, the sensor is guarded by a shield. Scroll down further and go to the copyright information. Here, in the artist section, write down your name. Just for the sake of simplicity, I am writing the first 3 letters of my name, but you write down your complete name. Then in copyright, either you can type your email ID or your website address. This copyright information will be automatically embedded in the EXIF information of your file or the image. So this acts as a proof that image belongs to you. Once you typed both artist name and copyright information, now go to the attach copyright information and turn it on. So these are the 3 things which I change in my setup menu. Next, go to the photo shooting menu, scroll down and come to the file naming. File name will always start with letter DSC if you keep the factory setting. But I do not want it to start with DSC or that factory setting. I want it personalized and want to start it with my initials. So for that, I go and type my initials MBV. This way, all my files starts with the initials MBV / the file number. This make it personalized and unique to me. Next menu item to change in photo shooting menu is image area. You do not have to change the image area here. Rather, keep it to the factory setting, that is FX. But what you need to change is the DX crop alert and turn it on. So this will ensure that you have that letter DX flickering on the upper right corner of your viewfinder whenever you are in a DX mode. This serves as a reminder, and it is a very significant setting since there is no other way to know whether you are in a FX mode or DX mode while you are shooting. Scroll down and go to the image quality. I always shoot in RAW only and keep all my image quality to RAW. But for the sake of demonstration in this video, I am keeping it RAW plus JPEG normal. Then next, go to the image size setting. For both FX and DX, select the large image size. This way, you are using all available pixels in your camera to make the image. Remember, you can always downsize the image later in post-processing without much deterioration. But if you shoot in a small or a medium size and later if there is an urge to upscale it, then invariably it will result in so-called pixelization. So better to shoot large and utilize the maximum quality your camera provides. Then just below the image size, you will find something called raw recording. In this, you select the lossless compression. That means that your raw file is compressed without any loss. If you select high efficiency star or high efficiency, then there will be some amount of loss in the raw compression. Next, I change one parameter in ISO sensitivity setting, and that is minimum shutter speed in case I use auto ISO. In wildlife photography, I keep it 1 by 1600th of a second. With my experience, I can convincingly say that in wildlife photography, 1 by 1600 is the golden shutter speed if you want to freeze the action. So whenever I am in a situation and I am contemplating that there will be some action, I keep my ISO to auto so that my minimum shutter speed of 1 by 1600 is maintained. White balance is set to the natural light auto, but you can keep it to the direct sunlight as well if you think that the subject is directly lit by the sun. Then set picture control to either standard if you like a natural color reproduction, or vivid if you prefer some vibrancy in your image. I keep it on vivid. Next parameter to set is color space. Adobe RGB has a wider color gamut as compared to sRGB. So set your camera to Adobe RGB. If you wish to understand the concept of color space, then I highly recommend that you watch this video. I will also link in the description. Then scroll down and go to the metering. I prefer spot metering for wildlife photography. If you want to understand the metering system completely, then please watch this video. Then go down to the focus mode. In wildlife photography, the subject is always moving. So select AFC or autofocus continuous. Then in AF area mode, I select dynamic area AF small. This ensures that the selection point is small and thus accurate. But at the same time, there are some vicinity points which are subactive and will ensure that I get a proper focus and the focus is not lost. The focus becomes dynamic in nature. AF subject detection option obviously has to be on the animal since we are talking about wildlife photography. Later in this video, I will tell you what I do with multiple exposure, time-lapse video, interval timer shooting and focus shift. How I use these menu items for easy navigation and ready reference. Next, go to the video shooting menu. Here also, I personalize the file naming so that it starts with my initials. Then go to the frame size and frame rate. The factory setting is 3840 into 2160 at 30p, that is 30 frames per second. This setting will shoot 4K video at 30 frames per second. But if you think that you may need to slow down the video in post-processing for that slow-mo effect, then use 3840 into 2160 at 60 frames per second. And also, if you think that you do not want a 4K quality and you want to scale down the resolution, then select 1920 into 1080 at 30p. I will keep it to the factory setting of 4K at 30p. Scroll down and go to the image area. Here again, you enable the DX crop alert. Then I keep my extended oversampling on. This allows you to get some footage before actually you start shooting or pressing that start button. Good way to ensure that you do not lose accidentally any action. White balance is same as that of photo setting, that is natural light auto, and picture control also same like photo shooting, that is vivid. Then scroll down and go to the metering. When you check inside the metering menu, you will notice that there is no spot metering in video shooting. Keep metering to matrix. Then come down to the focus mode. You may persist with the full-time autofocus, which is a default setting, but I prefer AFC or autofocus continuous. This gives me more control and I do not have to rely on the way camera focus. Then for the AF area mode, I prefer wide area AF small. Again for the same reason, relatively small to ensure accuracy and big enough to ensure that the subject is in focus. Then subject detection, obviously animal. Vibration reduction and electronic VR are on. Then microphone sensitivity, instead of auto, choose manual and I keep it to 15. Scroll down and you have the last menu item in video recording menu called high resolution zoom. Keep it on. This basically allows you to go from FX to the DX zoom without changing the button. So this setting will be enabled only if you use an FX mode for your video shooting and not the DX mode. Next important menu item is custom settings menu. In this, I change AFC priority selection to focus instead of release. I do not want the camera to start shooting without focusing. I do not use AFS, so I leave it to the factory setting. Then for focus tracking with lock on, I keep it on 4. This way, my camera does not refocus quickly if there is a brief obstruction while shooting. It waits for some time before refocusing. For focus point, I use alternate points instead of all points. This keeps things fast, as my cursor do not traverse through the whole bunch of points. Next is store points by orientation. You keep this to select focus point and AF area mode. This ensures that irrespective of whether you shoot horizontal or whether you shoot vertical, your focus area and the area mode which is selected remains relatively constant in the viewfinder. Next menu item is AF activation. I prefer back button focusing and choose AF on only. If you are a wildlife photographer, then I highly encourage you to shift to the back button focusing. Advantages are many. Next menu item is focus point wrap around. Keep it on. This will allow you to shift focus point from extreme left to extreme right, or from extreme top to extreme bottom, or vice versa, without traversing through the complete viewfinder. Menu item number A11, focus point display. Enter its submenu and select on for everything. This way, whenever focus is achieved, the cursor turns green from red, and this assists you in understanding that the camera has focused. Then scroll down to limit selectable image area. I never shoot in square format or 16:9 format, so uncheck this two image area. So this makes my changeover from DX to FX and vice versa fast. Then next menu item is item number F, or the controls. Go to F2, custom controls for shooting. Enter its submenu. Here you can assign function to the FN button. Remember, FN buttons are like blanks. You can assign any function to these FN buttons. In Z8 camera, there are 3 FN buttons, 2 in front and 1 behind. Highlight F1, click OK to enter its submenu. Select AF area mode plus AF on. Once you select this, it will ask you which AF area mode you wish to choose. I go down and choose 3D tracking. Remember, I selected dynamic area mode for my back button focusing. And now for the front button, that is FN1 button, I am using a 3D tracking. This way, what I do in field is I first press my back button, select the subject, and then switch over to the front button to tell the camera or to assist the camera that this is the subject which you need to track 3D. So basically I am assisting the 3D tracking system of the camera, and this is very important. Do not rely blindly on the 3D tracking of Z8 or Z9 for that matter. For FN2, the factory setting of image area is kept as it is. For FN3, I assign it the function of go to my menu. So when I press FN3 button, I directly go to the My menu where I can navigate through all my frequently used settings. Later in this video, I will tell you how I set My menu. Then I assign function to OK button and select zoom on/off and 1:1 ratio or 100% magnification. What this does is that whenever I am shooting and I want to fine tune the focus and zoom into the subject to see the minute details, I just press my OK button. The subject is zoomed in by 100% in my viewfinder. I can use manual focusing for fine-tuning my focus. Now it is time to customize the button for playback. Enter its submenu. Select FN1 and select rating. And then select 5-star. For FN2, choose voice memo. So while playback, if you want to rate your images, just press the FN1 button and your command dial, and then you can rate it from 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5-star. Similarly, if you want to give any voice command to your image, then use FN2 button and input your voice. I am planning to have a complete video on star ratings and voice memo later in this channel. If any one of you is interested, please let me know in the comments. Then I change the setting for the sub-command dial. Instead of 1 frame, I make it 10 frames. This enables me to jump 10 images at a time during playback. And now it is time to set My menu. Go to My menu and here you can add items which you use frequently. This allows you to navigate quickly and serves as a ready reference so that you do not have to search for the items throughout the entire menu. To add items, click on Add Item and then from different menu items, select the item which you want to embed or to shift to the My menu. So I select multiple exposure, interval timer shooting, timeless video, and focus shift shooting. Then from video recording menu, I choose file size and frame rate. And whenever you are selecting the item, you can choose the relative position of that particular menu in My menu. So most frequently used items are on the top. So this is My menu. For ready reference, I just press the FN3 button, go to My menu, select the menu which I want to use and use it. Thank you for watching and keep exploring.